Oh my goodness, Lisa. Hi, welcome.
Hi, Phoebe. Thank you. It's good to be
It,
here.
I know it's such a joy to have you. And I mean, you and I have only known each other maybe a month. Yeah. And I think that's when you entered into the nOMad collective. And I feel we're very connected already. And we've both kind of gone through a lot.
Yeah. When you said that, I was like, I feel like I've known you forever. And and
Me too.
it's really interesting. I mean, we did have some you came into my atmosphere, a while ago through social media, and it's interesting how social media can do that. I remember, when I remember around the time when I first started seeing you or we became friends or whatever, and I was like, and then I mentioned to you, I kind of, it was like this here. I was seeing this Phoebe and seeing all her stuff and feeling in alignment, and then I guess the timing for us to meet just wasn't then. And when the timing became right, here we are.
Yeah. So even though we've had this little flowing of in and out and getting to know each other this past month, everybody here is most likely new to meeting you. So I'd love to just know a little bit more about who you are, however you want to interpret that, and where you are in the world and what you're offering the world these days.
Okay, yeah. I am in Ocala, Florida. So I'm originally from Miami. I've lived a lot of places, but I'm in Ocala, Florida, which is kind of like the center of the center of Florida in all ways. And I'm here for a specific reason, but I'll come back to that. I I am the founder of One Breath Institute. One Breath Institute, we offer healing programs. We have a really amazing healing program that's 12 weeks that is online, and we offer professional breathwork training. While we do professional breathwork training, I find myself telling people we're an awakening school or we're a consciousness school as well, because my mission and my journey is to support people in really healing their traumas, and coming to a greater awareness and understanding of who they are and what their purpose is, in the world, and establishing themselves to be able to create that, to be able to create that. So, so yeah, so I have a long history from 2007. I guess it's not that long, but yeah, 2007, while of being in the holistic arts. When I left hospitality management, I went to India and I immersed myself in learning yoga and Ayurveda. And then from there, went to massage school and energy work and craniosacral therapy and all of these different things, coaching. And then I came to conscious connected breath work and studied that. And breath work was the thing that really brought everything else together. And so yeah, so myself, along with co-founders of our school, developed introspective breathwork therapy. And that's
Mm.
the main modality that we use. And so I'm in Ocala specifically because I also do some contract work for a place where it's a residential treatment center for trauma and addiction, which has become, my specialty, working with people with trauma and addiction. So yeah, I guess that's a lot right there.
It is a lot right there. And I got full body chill when you said you help people awaken. Yeah, and I think it's really interesting. I would love to talk a little bit more about how you see the awakening and the breath work and how they're intertwined. I mean, I've firsthand had that experience too, but I would love to hear through your words and your perspective of what that means and what that looks like.
Yeah, okay. So how is that intertwined? Well, my brain's going in 5 million different directions right now.
Yeah.
So let me pick one. Um, it seems so subtle and so simple, breathing. We breathe all the time, but I'll ask everybody who's listening right now to just notice, are you breathing right now? Let's take a breath together right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what is that we're doing? It's such a fascinating thing to me that when we're in the womb, we are not breathing. When we're in the womb, we're in fluid. And when we are born through the vessel of the womb, when we are born through, through that vessel, we need to take our first breath in order to be alive on this planet. And so, and we're only living as long as we are breathing. When we stop breathing, we cannot live we can live for a long time, for weeks without food. We can live for a while without water, but we cannot live for minutes without breath. And so that's really profound. Like, to me, that's really incredibly profound. And what I have found is that when we consciously breathe, right? We take the opportunity and the time to consciously breathe, to breathe with consciousness. We are consciously bringing more life into our body, all right? So I also mentioned, I asked us to check in and say, are we breathing, or how are we breathing? Anytime that we have had an experience that takes our breath away, or that we're holding breath because of stress or because of difficult or challenging situations, we are restricting ourselves, and we are creating a pattern of restriction within our body. Our fascia, our, muscles, our organs, energetically, emotionally, there's a restriction there. And that restriction remains, and it creates our belief systems. We don't realize it's belief systems, but it creates the way that we engage with life and that we respond to and react to people, places, things, situations in life. And so we can use the breath, conscious breath, and use the breath to, what it does is the breath has its own intelligence. The body has its own intelligence, and the breath has its own intelligence, and the nervous system has its own intelligence. And when we give surrender and allow these pieces of ourselves to work together, the nervous system, the breath, they are one and the same, but I'm going to say they're also different, because I believe the breath has its own intelligence. The nervous system has its own intelligence. When we allow these to work together and we surrender to that breath to come in to the body, it finds those places. I'll oftentimes use the word that it's like a highlighter. It will highlight the places where there's restriction. And when that happens, we may have physical sensations, we may have emotional release that happens. We will have memories that, something that you haven't thought of in years, because it's related to that situation, to that restriction. And so what happens, through this process is we are, those restrictions are having the opportunity to be worked through, and we open up, and we have greater access to ourself. So I believe, we talk about DNA. A lot of people talk about DNA, and if you think about DNA and how it's encoded, right? We are encoded with who we are, our purpose, our objective, here, we all are unique and individual people with, value to this world and to each other. And so the breath supports you, and as you're clearing out these restrictions and these not you pieces, you are also giving life to the parts that are you, and coming in touch with that. And the more that you connect through breath and through consciousness, and of course there's more to it, the more that you start to trust your own inner knowing in your own voice and find the confidence to walk your path.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can listen to you all day. And I love what you were just saying is with the DNA and what we're using, how we're using the breath to release the not use and breathing in the use and cleansing that. That's very powerful way of looking at it. And what I was also just feeling when I was hearing you was, okay, here's this very intelligent woman teaching people about using their breath and awakening. But in your previous life, you were you were in hotel hospitality. And I'm very curious to know this bridge that brought you to where you are now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting bridge. It's an interesting bridge. So, I will say that I was very sensitive as a child.
Mm,
I was very sensitive as a child. I was very aware. I was very tuned in as a child. And I came into um, a world, a family unit that was very chaotic,
mm,
um, very traumatic, my very loud. My father was a musician, and
mm,
I was born in 75, so the 70s, 80s. My parents were hippies. There were bikers all around. There were jam sessions and drugs and alcohol and all of this stuff. And so unfortunately, my childhood was riddled with abuse. And then I got very sick when I was, 16, 17 years. I had chronic illness for a few years, and just kind of floundered on the path. I ended up getting involved in my own addictions. I started drinking pretty early on, traveled all over, exploring, using drugs, and I was a waitress. So being a waitress was a really, really easy way to make fast cash money and to travel. And so I did that. And at some point I had um people, I somehow I was always responsible. Like somehow I was also always responsible and like very enthusiastic and I had so much faith. Like something that's really strange is that I had so much faith in myself, like always. Like I knew that I could just go to San Francisco and I was going to have a job when I got there, even if I don't have to have any money. Like I just had all this trust and all this faith. And so anyway, so I was, somebody was like, you're management material. So I just fell into management. And or being an assistant manager, and I was with this place called Howl at the Moon. I'll just say it, Howl at the Moon, and they're a dueling piano bar chain. I went to I ended up in New Orleans, and like just crazy chaos, so much darkness. And I ended up going to Chicago because I had to get out of New Orleans. So I go to Chicago, and I'm there just a few months, and they decide to make me the general manager of their flagship store. And so I'm the general manager of this flagship Chicago, and we become one of the top 10 nightclubs in downtown Chicago. It was like millions of dollars a year in revenue happening that I am that I'm managing this company. So so and this is I'm in my 20s still. And it was, I had been going through a period of time where, while this was such a gift, and as soon as I became the general manager, I never did another drug again. I was still drinking, but I never did another drug again. I was like, okay, I'm getting this responsibility. I'm never going to do another drug again. But drinking in that environment was, I mean,
yeah.
it just comes with the territory. So, you know, it was great for like 2 years. And then like the next 2 years, I was just struggling and suffering and knowing that I meant for more. I think I knew that for a long time, but it was just really becoming highlighted in my face. I meant for more. I'm supposed to do something different. And so I would be, it would be like 12:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, the 400 people having a great time in the nightclub. And I would go to my office downstairs and I would be researching flights to Asia because I needed to go meditate in the cave. Like that's what I knew I needed to do. I needed to go meditate in the cave. So I was like, and my staff all knew I was doing this. They'd be like, what are the flights to, because I was regularly thinking I was going to Thailand. What are the flights to Thailand like today? Or what is, what, they knew that I was doing this. So finally it became time, it was me struggling with my self-worth. I was like, I don't have anything. I'm nobody. I was given this opportunity. I'm making so much money. How can I leave this? How can I leave this? And what ended up happening was I got really sick. I got really sick. I ended up with pneumonia for a period of time, and I hadn't the relationship I was in like ended at the same time. So here I am now. I'm completely alone. It's winter in Chicago, January, February. It's like the worst. It's like awful,
Yeah.
awful, completely awful. And I realized like, okay, I have nothing. I have nobody. I have nothing and I have nobody. Like, what am I doing? Whereas I had been feeling like, how am I going to get anything else? Like I don't have an education. I don't have XYZ, how am I going to make money? How am I going to do anything? I was like, okay, well, I have nothing and I have nobody. And then I stopped sleeping. I didn't sleep for like 4 days.
Wow.
And I called my doctor and I was like, I need some sleeping pills. It's not something that I was on no medication. But I was like, I need some sleeping, and so she
Yeah.
gave me some sleeping pills so I could start sleeping. And I was like, okay, I gotta get out. I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna die. Like I'm literally
Yeah.
gonna die. So that's when I was like, well, I can't go to Asia because that's crazy, but I can get a job at a resort. So I can go back to Florida. So I found a really great, I went to Fernandina Beach. I interviewed there were 2 resorts there, the Ritz-Carlton and Amelia Island Plantation. Got the job at Amelia Island Plantation, and it was managing the fine dining restaurant, the lobby lounge, 40 hours a week, great hours. I got a place to live on the beach, and I started practicing yoga every day. I had done yoga for the first time when I was like 20, but I was having these like dualistic lives, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
kind of dualistic life. So now I'm practicing yoga like every day and meditating and walking on the beach and still drinking some. It was hard to quit drinking, but I would just cry and cry. And I was like, what is happening? Like what is happening? I knew that I was healing and there was something really profound happening. And then I started having these visions. And it was like, you're going to work with veterans, you're going to help people with PTSD, you're going to have a wellness center. Like all of these things were coming through. And so my contract with the place was that I would work there for a year because they paid for me to relocate and everything. So when my year was up, I gave my notice and I went to India. I was like, I was like, I'm going to India. I'm going to do yoga. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen next, but I know that like I can apply my faith that I have had to
Yeah.
this is where I need to do. This is where I need to go. So that was the bridge. I go to, everybody thinks I'm crazy. Like, literally, this is like this really nice fancy resort. And they're like, you're going to quit your job and go to India to do yoga. And then you don't know what you're going to do. And I was like, yep, that's what's
Yeah. Yeah.
happening. That's what's happening. So yeah, so it was South India that I went to. I was in this yoga program and it was at an Ayurvedic hospital.
Mm.
So it's an Ayurvedic hospital. So it's very Gurukul style. I had only one other person that was studying yoga with me, and the yoga was like six weeks, and then I transitioned into practicing Ayurveda for 6 weeks. And so it was like 6 days a week, all day, you're practicing yoga, you're learning Sanskrit, you're learning, and you're immersed in this lifestyle, in this Ayurvedic lifestyle. And I detoxed hard. I mean, we were doing all of the different kriyas, which are detoxification processes as well. I mean, my skin, everything was coming out of my skin. I was in bed with a fever. At one time, I thought I was like, had like dysentery. Like I couldn't,
Yeah.
for like 6 days. And the Ayurvedic physician was like, nope, you're just detoxing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm dying. Just
Yeah.
detoxing. So anyway, I've totally immersed in this, and a friend, and that's giving me a foundation, of
Mhm.
course, a foundation for the work that I'm later doing. But one of the girls that I was studying with in Ayurveda, she says, okay, now you need to go to the ashram of Ramana Maharishi. Like, we need to go there. We had 2 days off. You specifically need to go there. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so this ashram is it's in Tiruvannamalai, and it's a mountain, Mount Arunchala. And this mountain, I didn't know any of this at the time. I know none
Yeah.
of this at the time. But in Tiruvannamalai, there's an ancient Shiva temple.
Mm.
And the mountain, Mount Arunchala, is fabled to be a place where Shiva came down as fire, and there was a battle. Shiva had a battle on this mountain, and when Shiva disappeared, it was left this mountain. It was like
Mm.
the ash of Shiva. So anyway, so Ramana Maharishi, was a sage. He transitioned in, I think, in the 70s. And he had gone here seeking to refuge and to just go into meditation. And so he went up to the mountain and he carved out in the stone a little place where he could go in and meditate. And he was in this one place meditating, and people would come. They were attracted. They would leave him food. They would want his
Mm.
blessings and all of that. So that's how the ashram came. He didn't build it. It's followers who ended up
Yeah.
building this ashram. So he, it got too busy for him down there. So he went up higher and kind of on the other side of the mountain and carved out a more secluded, bigger cave for himself with a vestibule and then a larger room with meditation. So anyway, so this is where we go, and we couldn't stay in the ashram. We stayed in town, and we went to the ashram, get there early in the morning. You leave your shoes at the bottom of the mountain. If you're in India, you leave your shoes. You do barefoot
Yeah.
pretty much any sacred space. So we get there like 6 o'clock in the morning or something, right before sunrise. Leave our shoes. The three of us walk up, and we go into the first cave, sit down, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to meditate. We're all sitting there trying to meditate, and nothing's happening, and it's warm, and I'm just feeling frustrated. And so I'm like, I can't do this. I'm going to go up to the other cave. So I walk out by myself. I go up to the other cave. I walk in. It's a little cooler. It's really, really dark. There's nobody in there. And I can see, carved out is a bench, and it's, kind of a larger circular bench. And when you sit on the bench, the cave ceiling isn't that high. And so when you sit on the bench, the ceiling is not that, is just above you. So I go and I sit myself down in my little meditation, and I, sit up straight, and I say, okay, who is my guru?
Mm.
And all of a sudden I see his face, like a young, much, much, much younger. I see his face, the face of Ramana, like right there in my inner eye, like big and bright.
Wow.
I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, okay. And I said, okay, something along the lines of like, well, what do I need to know? Or what do I need to see?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, just all of this light came through, and all of these different symbols. They were symbols made of white light.
Mm.
They were just there. It was like in my, like, right in front of me, all of this light, all of these different symbols. And then I felt like vibration and sensation in my body, and then I disappeared.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Wow.
the next thing I know is I feel like like I'm being electrocuted. There's like a lightning zap, like from the top down through my entire body, and I'm
Yeah.
tingling and I'm vibration. It's literally just like I would feel like if somebody like getting electrocuted, like electroshock, like
Yeah.
boom, this,
Yeah.
and I'm like breathe for the first time. I'm like, what's happening? Where am I? And I realize I'm ramrod straight, which me in meditation, normally at some point I'm like, not anymore, but at that time, now I can,
Yeah.
at that time I was like, I'd be fidgety, ramrod straight, and I realize I'm soaking wet.
Wow.
Soaking wet. Like my clothes are soaking wet, my hair is soaking wet. I'm so hot. I look next to me and there's people, the whole room is filled. There's people next to me on the bench, there's people on the ground. I'm like, what is happening? So I
Yeah.
take a minute to get my bearings, and then I try to get up, and when I stand up, I hit my head on the stone. I finally get my bearings. I wobble out into the entryway, into the vestibule. My two friends are sitting there and they're reading books, and I'm like, how long, how long have I been in there? And they're like,
Yeah.
I don't know what. And I'm like, how long have you been here? And they're like, wait, I don't know, maybe an hour. I'm like, what time is it? They're like, we don't know. So I walk out, and I'm in the sunshine, and the sun, it's like high noon.
Yeah.
The sun is right above.
Wow.
So many hours have gone by.
Yeah.
That sun hits me, and I am just total bliss, complete. Like the sun feels amazing. I'm like, then everything is brighter, everything is shinier.
Mm.
I can hear, like I'm in communication with the nature around me. I'm standing on a rock that should be hot because the sun is penetrating it, but it's not. I don't, it feels nice under my feet.
Mm.
Butterfly comes, a blue butterfly. I got the blue butterfly. This is new
Yes, you do.
tattoo. The
I was,
butterfly stay with me. But yeah, blue butterfly comes and
yeah.
lands on my arm, and we are telepathically communicating.
Wow.
We're having a conversation. The butterfly decides to hang out with me as I'm walking down the mountain. And because this was a Shiva site, there's all these different Shiva worshippers. And I encountered this man. He's a Shiva worshiper, because you can tell, because the sadhus, they've got the white, across their forehead. And he stops and he says, "I have something for you." And I'm like, "Great." He's like, "I've been waiting for you. I have something for you." I'm like, "Great, what do you have for me?" And he gives
Wow.
me a small card with the picture of Ramana Maharishi's face. And it's the
Mm.
same face, the same
Oh.
exact face that came into my vision. And he's like, then we start having this conversation about the last time we met 1,000 years ago. And we go,
Wow.
we sit down and we have this conversation about our missions and things that have happened. We know each other. So anyway, I'll kind of wrap it up there, because this is a lot. But that's a big part of the bridge.
Yeah.
Was this big awakening that I had. And that in itself, you know, I will say, we went downstairs, and there's continuing on, go to the downstairs in this ashram, and there's a big library, and I'm like, okay, what books, which are the books that are meant for me? And the books that I picked out, one of them was just it's a very short thing on his main teachings, which is, who am I?
Mm.
That's his teaching. Who am I? That's the question. Who am I? And so that who am I really became the basis and the foundation for myself and my work,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And the way that I would work with others and work with people, and that whole who is my guru thing was, you know, he is not somebody who ever claimed to be anybody's guru, but he supported people in finding that you are your own guru.
Yeah.
You are your own guru. So he supported me in finding that I am my own guru, helping me to align with my path and my intuitive gifts. And from there, it was like, being guided to what is the next step and what is the next step and what is the next step. But from the very beginning, coming back from India and working with people, because I started teaching yoga right away and I started working with Ayurveda right away, and meditations and in work with people would be this just that question of, who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I? And so yeah, it's just evolved from there.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. That was, I mean, such a divine guided story. I mean, I sat with Nancy, another guide, yesterday, and she had a very different story. But for both of you, all I can hear is how divinely guided you were, right? Just from your childhood. And I resonate with your childhood. I had a very similar childhood, but just having that kind of chaotic childhood almost set you up for this. It just, go with the flow of, oh, yeah, I'll move to New Orleans, I'll go to Chicago, I'll go to India, right? Like you kind of needed that foundation of chaos to give you that courage to just up and go to India when you did. And it just felt so guided, like there was something just pulling you towards this deeper spiritual practice for so many years. And then bam, there you were. And he'd been waiting for you this whole time. And, your dear friend of thousands of years reached out to you and said, here, been waiting for you this whole time, just waiting for you to catch up with me. Like, wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, and thank you for that reflection because yeah, growing up, I I don't think I quite connected it in that way before, but I didn't have a home. We
Mhm.
had many homes. We were always moving from home to home to home. And so for me, learning to make a home has been a challenge, a positive challenge, and one that I've welcomed, and since I've made homes for myself, been able to find that benefit in staying in one place. But yeah, you're so right. While as I have attributed a lot of my traumas for being beautiful catalysts for me being able to experience healing those traumas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't quite recognized that. Yeah, I was moving around from the time I was a kid. So it was just like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go here.
Well, I have a company called nOMad, so
Yeah,
I'm guilty of that too.
I love it.
Yeah, but the sense what I just loved what you said was you have this gift of creating that home for yourself, and what you do, I know for others, how you hold that space for other people. And I think that's something that I've worked on too, is how do I, not just a structure home, but how to create that safe space for myself and for others. And I know that you do that. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about this journey of how you shifted, really not just to your own spiritual awakening, but how you felt so called and the journey you took to help others with trauma. And I know you're working at a place called Guest House, which is also how we connected too, because
Mhm.
I kept feeling this pull to that place. And when you said, oh, I work there, I was like, wait, I need to really talk to you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm not sure that I identify like a separation
Mhm.
between myself and other, and like
Mhm.
when yeah, and identify it becoming a conscious choice of just working on myself or using this for other. And I've learned some things about myself from astrology and from human design.
Yeah.
And so some of the things that I've learned from my, astrological chart and from my human design is that I am very tapped into the collective consciousness.
Mhm.
I'm very, very tapped into the collective consciousness, and I'm a manifesting generator.
Okay.
And so I what that means is that I need to respond. Like I am responding to things.
Mhm.
And so that's really the way when I found that out, I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense because
Mhm.
I've I know that I'm I'm always doing something in response to something, in response to a call, in response to a need. And I've also always experienced myself to be tuned into collective consciousness. And there's difference. I've needed to, and I've had the opportunity to learn the differences between being overly empathic to others and feeling a need to be responsible for others based
Mhm.
on childhood traumatic experiences. So if you haven't heard that before, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Sometimes when we're overly empathic and tuned in, because
Yeah.
we had to be in order to survive.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and so, yeah, I mean, I went to India. I was like, okay, I'm doing this yoga thing. And then when I came back from India, I was like, okay, well, I've got this teacher certification. And so I just naturally just went into that. And it just was what I was supposed to be doing. And, and so, um, so my path was guided, and I didn't plan on going to massage school. I started working at this Ayurvedic center. I was teaching yoga. I was supporting some people through Ayurveda, and I'm still, just on my own path and doing my own thing. And somebody said, "Well, you should go to massage school," and I was like, "Okay." So I went, and they were like, they're having an open house tonight. So I went to the open house that night to the massage school. The class was starting, it was like a Wednesday. The class was starting Monday. I applied for the financial aid, and then I was in massage school. Um, so, um, I was going to massage school, and then I was doing another teacher training, another yoga teacher training. And somebody said to me, I brought in that I have this vision. I'm having this vision that I'm going to be working with people with trauma. And so somebody else
Yeah.
in the class said, hey, I do volunteer work in a women's prison, and we're looking for people to help and come in and do meditation and yoga. And so then I got involved with this group that was what they was an this I always name him as one of my mentors, Casey Walpole.
Mm.
He is an abbot of a Zen center. So now I'm getting involved in Zen Buddhism, and he's the person who ran this prison program, and part of it was Buddhism meditation retreats, and part of it was also based on the work of it was a modified mindfulness-based stress reduction program. So
Mm.
Casey had done prison research with John Kabat-Zinn,
Oh, cool.
who is the founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction. And John Kabat-Zinn brought that program into prison. Casey
Mm.
helped him and learned that, and then brought this program to. So now I'm learning more
Mm.
about stress and about trauma and all of those different things through this program. And yeah, I mean, it's just been guided. It was not, it wasn't a conscious choice. And
Yeah.
even, and I just, after completing, I worked in the prison for about 2.5 years. I would go in at least once a week, sometimes twice a week or more. And I loved and was just blown away by the work that was happening with the women in prison, and had a lot of learning opportunities because it supported me in healing my own traumas, because I was working with people who abused children. I was working with people who, you know, yeah, might have killed, and or who did, and having the opportunity, and I didn't always know what they had done, right? I had these opportunities of really getting to know these women and see their transformations and like them,
Mm.
right? And like them and care for them and love them as people. And then, and then seeing, okay, well, this person, this is what I did, or this is what they did, and so that was a foundation for me having the opportunity to heal my own traumas and my own beliefs about people who perpetuate or create these traumas, if that makes sense. So
Definitely.
long story short, yeah, uh it's just been what I've been called to do. It was never a conscious choice. And even with the guest house, I had been I've been with them now, December was a year. So yeah, I think they reached out to me probably like 4 or 5 months before that. So what are we, more than a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years ago, they reached out to me. So I had established One Breath Institute already.
Mm.
And and I knew about the guest house because I had been living in Gainesville for 10 or 12 years. And somebody told me about it. Somebody said, "Oh, you do breath work. They do breath work out at this place called the Guest House, and it's this, you know, really the way that they described it was it's this really fancy, really world-renowned treatment center, and like celebrities and politicians go there, and and they do breath work, and you should look into that." And of course, I never did. I looked at the place and I was like, "Oh wow, that looks like a really nice place," but I got my own thing going on, and so the director found me, and she doesn't even know how she found me. She said that she had been, they had started in January of last year. So that would have been in January 2023. They started looking for somebody to replace their breath worker who was
Mm.
retiring. And it's like now May, June. And, she's like, I clicked on an ad for this one breathwork person, and then I'm here, and then I'm here, and then I'm here, and
A
then I'm
rabbit
here, and then
hole.
I'm here. And then the next thing I know, I find you. And so of course I was interested, and she had me come and sit. I'm gonna tell you the story.
Yeah.
I haven't told anybody the story publicly.
Love it.
She's like, "You gotta come and assist our breath worker and see how it goes. And then the next week, you come back and you assist and you lead it and see how it goes." So I come, and it's an amazing facility, and I meet the man, and he's retiring, so he's older than me. And something clicks, right? There's something we can when you're in the presence of somebody who also has a spiritually awakened energy, you can sense that. There's a resonance. There was a resonance. And so I can't remember if it was the first time we met or the second time we met. It doesn't really matter. What I can tell, we facilitate the breath work, and then, he's showing me around, and he brings me to his office. So we go and we sit in his office, beautiful office, now the office that I get to use. And we're sitting there, and we're talking about breath work, and we're talking about our philosophies and our histories and working with people. And there's a lot of similarities in what we do and what we've learned and all of that. And then I look over on a little table. There's
Yeah.
a little picture of Ramana Maharishi.
Oh my gosh. I knew it right when you said that. Oh, I got chills. Amazing.
And I
Wow.
I was like, "Is
Wow.
that Ramana Maharishi?" And he goes, "Oh, you know him?" And then literally, like, time stopped, and we went into a vortex. We
Mm.
literally went into a vortex. I don't know how long we were in the vortex. And then we came back and we're like, "Okay, what were we talking
Wow.
about?"
That's amazing.
So,
And did he share his connection?
yes, he did.
That's
Yes, he did. And
amazing.
that's personal to him.
Yeah,
So,
that's
and
fine. I
I'm
was just
feeling
curious.
it. I'm
Yeah.
feeling it now. And so, and so then last year, I was um, part of the summit, the Shift Network. The Shift
Mm.
Network, they have I
Yeah.
don't know if they still have it because I didn't see it this year, but they generally have an annual breathwork summit. And
Mhm.
so I was invited to be a speaker at the breathwork summit. And I was so excited because it's the Shift Network and it's the breathwork summit. And this means that, we're established enough that, people know about us
Yeah.
and so anyway, I was in transition to yeah, I was in transition to moving to Ocala because I was driving a long distance to come to
Yeah.
Ocala the one day a week. So we moved to Ocala to be close to the guest house.
Yeah.
And so I rented an office and like a pay by the hour office space at a collective space.
Mm.
And I'm so nervous. Like I'm so nervous because it's the shift network and I'm in this rented office and I don't know the equipment and I don't know how things are gonna go and blah blah blah. And he sends me a message and I was gonna try to pull it up, but it's probably scrolled back in time. But he sends me a message and it was something along the lines of, your time and we don't text. Like I probably could find it right away. We are not in regular communication
Yeah.
with each other, but it was something along the lines of like your timing here has been planned uh ages ago, a long time
Wow.
ago. And he sends me a link to a
Wow.
like YouTube.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
and I was like, you're something, to me, like your timing and your, here
Wow.
was
Yeah.
like, was meant to be, for ages. He has no idea.
He doesn't know you're at the
He has
ship.
no idea this is
Wow.
happening in 1 hour. He has no, this is just the most
Wow.
random text message I've ever received that
Oh
is
my
perfectly
gosh.
timed.
That is so divine.
So yeah, I never really made
You never what?
I never necessarily like set out with intention that this is what's
Yeah.
happening.
That is beautiful. Oh my gosh. Wow, what a powerful story. Thanks for threading that all together so beautifully. Wow. I mean, that was divine right there. Um, I want to shift gears a little bit, but I have a feeling it's going to be intertwined so beautifully into this too. But you have a retreat coming up in Bali, and I would love to hear a little bit about the inspiration of that. And first of all, have you been to Bali before?
No.
Ooh, yeah.
No. I have not been to Bali
Get
before.
ready.
Well, I'm already being prepared.
Yeah.
I'm already being prepared. Yeah. So no, I've never been to Bali, and it's never even been a place that's been at the top of my list. Again, Thailand was at the top of my list. I haven't been there
Yeah.
yet. uh,
Well, there is a saying, they do say Mama Bali calls you. And it was the same thing for me. All of a sudden, I got the invitation in 2017 and I got it again in 2020. So and it tells you also when it's not time because I was supposed to be there in 2020, in this year.
okay.
I was supposed to actually be there just getting back now for a retreat. So, so Mama Bali definitely communicates with you. And I'm interested to see what unfolds for you and your group. But yeah, so yeah.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, no, I've led retreats. I've led plenty of retreats in the US.
Hmm.
I've never led an international retreat.
Yeah.
I had been wanting to for like since like 2018.
Yeah.
I consciously remember 2018 starting to look at retreat centers in Greece and it was Greece. Yeah, it was Greece that I was looking at then. But I've been wanting to lead an international retreat and it felt so hard. And it felt so like I don't know how to like I have to go there and scope the place out first. How do
Yeah.
I trust somebody? How do I know that it's going to be okay? Like there's so many unknown factors for me. And so it was scary. And so I was, in this place, I would let that go and then I would circle back to it. So I circled back to this was a more than a year ago. Or not more than a year ago, probably a year ago, because Bali, we paid the deposits August of last year. So it was one
Okay.
year in advance.
Yeah.
So I circled back to this. Okay, international retreat. Got to how I'm gonna do it. And then all of a sudden, and then I started thinking about Bali because we interview our students. We interview people for our training program, and so many of our students have had Bali experiences. So
Mhm.
I've sat across from so many people, on Zoom who are telling me about how did you find breath work? I was in Bali and
Mhm.
I ended up in this breath work and I had this big experience, this big thing happening. And I was like, so many people have these Bali breathwork experiences. Like, I want to go to Bali. Like, I want to go to Bali and like have the breathwork experience, or I want to, like have somebody come to my Bali. I want to be the one having the Bali breathwork experience. I
Yeah.
was like, wait a minute, I know somebody in Bali who has a retreat center. And so the person that I had originally studied conscious connected breathwork with
Yeah.
had originally owned this retreat center, and then one of his students, who is somebody who was not in my training, but later I supported that training with some mentorship, and so we met and became friendly through that way. She bought the center, I think in 2020 actually, and totally renovated it, made it really nice, and I was like, wait a minute, I know somebody who has a retreat center in Bali. Like,
Amazing.
let me just reach out to her. So I reached out to her, and it was like the easiest thing ever. It was just easy. It was just, like I think the next day we were on doing a FaceTime and she's showing me the whole center and she's like, here's the price for the whole center, here's the price for the food, like there's no like extra, 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 like done, done, done. And so I was like, okay, we're going to Bali. It was just
Amazing.
a yes, yes, yes. And yeah, I had a little bit of fear, but I put it out in our community, and so many people in our community wanted to go.
Mhm.
And Bali was just a yes, yes, yes from people in our community. So
Going to Bali.
Bali, somebody registered in the first week.
Yeah.
If somebody hadn't
Yeah.
registered in the week, that would have been another maybe not so, but yeah, somebody registered in the first week. So that's it.
Amazing. And so who is going to benefit from this retreat specifically?
Yeah, who is going to benefit from this retreat specifically? Yeah, and I don't remember what your original question was. First
What do
question.
you
So yeah,
mean?
yeah, I'm like, I
Oh, in
think there was
terms of
something more I
Bali?
was supposed to speak to about Bali,
Oh
but
no,
yeah.
you spoke into it. Yeah,
Okay.
just yeah, what was
Yeah.
pulling you there and yeah, what it's gonna this yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
answered it. You got it.
who is going to benefit? Yeah. Um, anyone who is ready to have an awakening experience, right?
Mm,
So I perceive Bali and the ways that the ways that I am being prepared in my meditations and in my breath work practices, and the people that are being attracted to the retreat and different pieces that I've become aware of, it's going to be a very powerful awakening experience for anyone who is there. So if you are someone who is ready to step into your full power and your full potential, and to, you know, step into your full power and your full potential, that means a lot of like just being done, right? Just being done with your own BS. Being, because that's really what it is, and I was trying to find a
mhm.
kind way to say it, right? It's just,
Okay.
whoever goes is going to have an experience of growth. You're going to let go of trauma. You're going to let go of decades of stress. You're
Mm,
going to come into greater alignment with yourself. But I also believe and perceive that there's going to be some receiving of just greater, and it's your own greater potential, more energy.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be kind here. No more BS. I get that. If you're feeling like you're in this loop, this pattern, or whether it's addiction or just addictive to your own thoughts, right? Um, and really looking for something to shift it. It sounds like this is what the retreat is really for, is for that major shift.
Yeah, the theme, I haven't put online that there's a theme for it, but the
Yeah.
theme that keeps coming to me is letting go,
Mm,
is like letting go. Because that's what we need. That's all we need to do. is
Yeah.
we need to let go. And it's, what we're holding on to is, oftentimes other people's um, perceived expectations of ourselves, or societal expectations of who you're supposed to be and fit into this little box, right?
Yeah.
So we take on these ideas of who we are, and we create, and it's not conscious in any way, but we create these lives and these lifestyles. Like me going back to being that nightclub manager and saying,
Mhm.
who's going to give me an opportunity again, right? Like, how can I let go of this? How can I let go of this, all this money that I'm making, and this opportunity and this prestige? And it's no prestige now, but it was it was just themed that way at that time, right?
Yeah.
Like, how can I let go of all of this? And so for other people, that's we all have that
Mhm.
something at some point in our life, that how can I let go of this? How can I, you know, let go of this relationship, or let go of this job, right?
Mhm.
Let go of, living this lifestyle. We all have that and are confronted with, at some point, something that we know we need to let go of in order to meet a greater potential for ourselves,
Yeah.
or open up, be able to. And not a lot of people hear it this way, so I'm going to say it now.
Okay.
Um, a lot of people, there's a tendency to have an idea or a dream for what you want to create. And
Mhm.
you think that you are going to have to create that before you let this go, right?
Mm.
But the truth is that oftentimes, we need to completely let go
Yeah.
of that, so that the space can be open
Mhm.
for us to even perceive more of that dream, or perceive
Mhm.
what is the necessary next step. It's like we're like, oh, I'm going to hold on, I'm going to keep working my full-time 9 to 5 job that I hate until
Mhm.
I get the vision for the next step. But the vision for the next step isn't going to come until you say true yes to that,
Yes.
which means I'm saying no to this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just got chills again. I think that is such a truth that I'm constantly sitting with as well and sharing with others, because I see the death grip of holding on to that old life and seeing the vision and not really allowing themselves to step into that vision, right? Because they're still holding so tightly on that old life. Yeah. Powerful. So, can you share a little bit more about? We're going to have the link here to sign up, but can you share about when this retreat is, and a little bit more of, what to expect, and yeah, anything else about this retreat before we
Yeah.
start to wind down?
Yeah, it's August 7th through 17th.
Mm,
So 11 days, 10 nights.
it's like the Lion's
Um,
Gate.
what's that?
I think it's inside the Lion's Gate.
It is.
Yes.
It is. So that's, yeah, wasn't thinking about that when I planned the date. So that's one of those pieces too that I was like, oh yeah, it's happening at that time, among other things.
Yeah.
So we are going to, yeah, we're going to be practicing introspective breathwork therapy. So introspective breathwork therapy, it's a combination of breath work, energetics or energy healing work, and somatics, body and body oriented work. And then, of course, yeah, of course, we're addressing all sheaths of the body, the mental, the physical, the emotional, the energetic, all of it. So introspective breathwork therapy, it's going to look like breath work. It's going to look like movement, movement activities, and some yoga, some qigong type of movements that are going to be brought in. We're going to be doing partner work. There's coaching. There's elements of coaching, and we heal through relationships. I haven't really brought that piece in, but it's in relationship. It's in relationship that we get our wounds, and it's in relationship that we have the opportunity to heal. Not necessarily in the relationships that hurt us, but in other ways. And so there's going to be there is a great community aspect to this, where through the community processes and connections, there's going to be healing work that's going to happen. We're going to visit temples, because Bali is place of all, it's the island of the gods, and there's ancient temples. So we're going to be visiting these temples, and we're going to have some sacred ceremony and blessings. And one thing that I'm really excited about is we're going to hike to Mount Batur. We're going to hike to the top of Mount Batur. And so this is a mountain that you get up super early in the morning to get to the top of it. And then there's supposedly 180-degree views of just breathtaking sunrise. So, and then it's actually a volcano. So on the way back down, there's these hot springs on the side of the volcano that you get in. So we're going to do that. So yeah, there's going to be I believe in a lot of space for integration. So every day we are going to do, something that is supporting clearing out the trauma, clearing out the stress, through introspective breathwork therapy, that combination of breath, movement, sound, community aspects. And there's going to be plenty of space for lounging around the pool. There's a sauna on the property. The meals, it's all fresh food made locally there. It's going to be all vegetarian, vegan food. So, really healthy eating. And so, yeah, those are some of the things we're going to do.
That sounds amazing. Sign me up, Lisa.
Come on.
Like I was supposed to go earlier this year for my own retreat. Maybe it's time that I join you all.
Come
Amazing.
on. Be a
Oh my
participant and
gosh.
receive. Yeah,
Well, I'm a projector. I have to wait for the invitation. This might be the invitation. Oh my goodness. Amazing. Is there anything else you want to share about anything that we didn't cover, or that you wanted to tap back, emphasize that we touched on before we wrap up?
I feel like we covered a lot. I guess I will just come back to that. Yeah, while we lead retreats, we also have just facilitator training. And we have, I'll let everybody know, we have free online breathwork sessions every Sunday. Those are open to anyone. You can go to onebreathinstitute.com and register for those free sessions. And those are Sundays, 11 to 12 Eastern time. So that's just a service that we do for the community. And it's an opportunity for people it's like church. It's our church. I know church can be a trigger word, but it's like that sacred healing time. It's just a short session, and they're really beautiful. So yeah,
that's beautiful. Well,
for people to join.
Thank you so much for what you're offering the world, and just allowing yourself to be divinely guided through all of those twists and turns that you shared to bring you to this point and be of service. It's so powerful what you're doing. And I just want to acknowledge you for that, and to thank you for being a part of our community here at nOMad. It means a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm trying to receive that and be like, you're welcome.
Yeah, receive.
Yeah, I'll receive it. Yeah, I'll receive it. Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much for being here today, Lisa. And we look forward to traveling with you soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to thank you too, Phoebe. I'm grateful that we've connected, and I love the work that you are doing in the world as well. And so I'm really happy and feel honored to have been divinely guided to now be connected with you and with nOMad.
There we go. We'll leave it at that.
Yep.